as the war in the Middle East rages on. More than 1,000 persons have been killed in Israel, and more than 900 people are dead in Gaza, according to Israel's Army Radio and the Palestinian Health Ministry. The fighting continues as humanitarian crisis swiftly unfolds in Gaza, where trapped residents, many cut off from food and electricity, face a fourth day, going to the fifth, in response to Hamas's deadly attacks in Israel. The terrorist group, Hamas, yesterday fired hundreds of rockets toward the Israeli city of Ashkelon. Joining us now on the morning show to discuss the ongoing war between Israel and Hamas is Rabbi Sternbach, leader of the Jewish community in Lagos, and Royan man, an Israeli filmmaker and an advocate of Nigerian film industry since 2018. Good morning, Rabbi. Good morning, Royan. Thank you very much for joining us. Quickly, let me ask both of you, what went through your mind when you learned of this attack by Hamas on Israel last Saturday, surprise attack, as it were? And what's your feeling? What do you think, of the situation now that has resulted in over 5,000 persons being killed? Only yesterday, 40 babies were slaughtered, massacred in a kibbutz in the southern part of Israel. And the war continues, with Hamas saying it will annihilate Israel, and Israel saying that it will annihilate Hamas, and that this will be a long and prolonged war. Let's start with you, Rabbi Sternbach, and then we take your views, Roya, on the subject. Rabbi?
Good morning.
You're welcome. Good morning.
We were very shocked at the magnitude, but unfortunately we weren't too surprised. We know this terrorist organization for many years, and we knew what they had in mind. We were shocked that it actually happened, but we weren't too surprised, unfortunately. They've been saying what they're planning on doing for a long time. They have not made it. They have not taken any efforts to keep it a secret. What's their final solution? What's their final goal? And unfortunately, we were very shocked that they actually had the opportunity to do what they said they would do. We were, in the beginning, overtaken by sadness. We're recuperating. We're holding ourselves strong, and we're not letting ourselves fall down.
Roya?
I must say that at first, I wasn't sure what was happening. The whole thing started across the country, apart from what happened in the south. Across the country, there were alarms of missiles being fired, and we're kind of used to it. Fortunately, it's a very well-known reality in Israel. I came here today because after the massacre, I don't know what else to call it, it was like a genocide that happened on Saturday morning in the southern part of Israel, when about 1,000 terrorists invaded the country. They shot 35 drones over the border to bomb all the cameras that were on the border, basically shutting down all the eyes of the Israeli defense intel. And then they fired the missiles, 3,500 missiles in 4 hours, thereabout. And while they did that, they broke down part of the fence and drove in 1,000 soldiers. 1,000 terrorists. And they invaded the 22 settlements around the border of Gaza and Israel. And single-handedly, with their hands, not a bomb, not an air attack, with their bare hands, they killed 1,200 people. Babies, children, mothers, grandmothers, families. My relative, her cousin, 12-year-old, is texting her grandmother from the shelter. So every house in Israel has has one room that is a shelter. It's very well protected. Like the walls, the door, everything. You close the door, you're in a shelter. Can be bombed. But she was stuck in the shelter with her family. On the way to the shelter, her mother and her brother were killed by the terrorists as they were running in, and her father lost conscience. And she's 12 years old. She's sitting with them in that small room, texting her grandmother, and hearing the terrorists outside the door, firing, shouting, trying to break in. She's 12. And another couple, they have 10-month-old twins. They were shot dead in front of the twins, and the twins were just left there for about 18 or 20 hours. I can't remember the number, but they were just left there with no one. And those are just two stories that I can share with you now. But the problem is, it's not a problem. The reason I came today is because while this happened on Saturday, right? So by Sunday, a lot of people were calling in to support, and I really thank all of them. I thank all of you for calling to show your support, to ask if I'm okay. It really helps. I'm not always like this. People know me, I'm a very strong person. Right. And one of them texts me and says, "Hi Ron, how are you feeling?" And I'm like, I'm holding up. And he goes, I was wondering if Israel wouldn't mind sponsoring some training programs for my company or my whatever he's doing. And I was like, what do you mean? He goes, well, some training programs, because he knows that I bring a lot of sponsorship programs for training, especially for filmmakers in Nigeria. And and I said, what happened yesterday? You know how Israel is right now? And he goes, oh yeah, you mean the Gaza Strip thing? Yeah, but how does that affect the international activity of Israel? So I came today to maybe try and explain to the people the magnitude of what has happened. Because I don't know if you can tell the viewers the percentage of Jews in the world. Do you know the percentage of Jews in the world? Because people think, there's 20, maybe 30% of Jews in the world. There's less than 0.5% of Jewish people in the world. In fact, there's 0.2% of Jewish people in the world. The whole community of Jewish people in the world is 15 million people. That's less than the population of Lagos. And only half of them live in Israel. That's a little bit more than the population of Johannesburg, for example. And they were fired at 3,500 missiles in 4 hours.
So this one,
and
4,000.
And just in those first 4 hours on Saturday. And if you remember, I'm sure you all remember 9/11. The relativity numbers of this terror attack is like 14 times 9/11s.
All right, Ryan, let me come in here because I'd like to ask you, and I'm so sorry for your loss, personal and as a nation. It's okay and perfectly understandable. So I'd like to ask, maybe I'll start with Rabbi first of all, in terms of the response by the Israeli government. Number one is, are you satisfied with the level of response? Because they've come out really hard on Hamas and saying they were going to totally destroy Hamas, in response. Then number two is the support received by the international community. So the United States, United Kingdom, France have released and made statements standing in support with Israel. How satisfied are you with that? And is that satisfactory in terms of the government's response? Because another angle to that is some people have criticized or perhaps evaluated the intelligence of the Israeli defense in terms of not being able to anticipate this magnitude of attack from Hamas? Or what would you have to say about that? And Roya, perhaps you can respond to that as well in terms of, are you happy with the response? Also bear in mind, Roya, the humanitarian crisis that this has caused, especially with Israel pulling out resources from Gaza. Rabbi.
So us Jewish people are known as the people of the book. I have here in the studio the Torah, the Jewish Hebrew Bible. And this week we just restarted reading the Torah. This is the day that these terrorists decided to desecrate, the day that we restart reading the Torah. And the very first passage of the Bible, it says in the Genesis, God created the heavens and the earth. Now the question is, why did God begin the Torah with that verse? What does it come to teach us? And the reason for that is because God's telling the world, I created this world. I gave this land initially to the 7 nations that are enumerated in the Bible, and I took it away from them and I gave it to the people of Israel. And this is the land of the Jewish people. No matter what citizenship you have, this is the land of every single Jewish person. Now, we need to do whatever we can to make sure that Jewish people are safe wherever they are. Now, we don't follow whatever it says in other places. We are people of the book. This is our reason for existence. And that's what we follow. Political opinions, it's not necessary, but I do want to say that just to give a little viewpoint here, you know, we live here in Lagos, and I want to really thank the people of Lagos and Nigeria in general for their overwhelming support way before this massacre, this genocide, and during, and I'm confident in the future. People of all faiths, Muslim, Christians, people of all nationalities have been reaching out to me and other people in our community to say, we are here to support you. We are shocked. And we do not accept what happened. And I want to thank the people of Nigeria. I believe this is one of the only places in the world where there's no anti-Semitism. It's here in Nigeria. The people here are believers. They're respectful people here in Nigeria. And I think the Jewish people owe a debt of gratitude to the Nigerian population for being there with us and during these challenging times.
Thank you, Rabbi. Moya?
I think that it's important to also, and thank you, Rabbi, I think what you said also comforts me. See, the atrocities these terrorists committed, to me, they don't represent any kind of people. They only represent terror. And that terror has been infiltrating into the world since before 9/11, I'm sure you know. But this is now the world against terror. If we let these terrorists live on, we are endangering the whole of the free world. Every country that supports and promotes and advocates for democracy, for human rights, for any kind of freedom, is jeopardizing its values and its people if they don't fight this terrorism. And I think that's why you see the countries of the world coming and standing by Israel, because they too understand and they see it and they've experienced it. Remember the attacks in Paris in 2015. Remember, like I said, 9/11. There are many, many more. And if we don't do something, and we know this is what you said about the Gaza people is heartbreaking. I don't know why they're caught in the middle of this, but I think that the reason why the world is standing by Israel is because they too understand that something must be done against these terrorists.
Okay, Ronnie. So sad. I feel so, goodness me, so shattered this morning about your loss, about the relative you lost in all of this. I feel so pained, and I pray for healing this morning for you and many people out there that have lost people. But when we look at this conflict, we know the origin. We know the pain also that the Palestinians have suffered. And we know the pain now that the Palestinians are suffering as a result of the Israeli bombardment in Gaza. We can show you pictures right here. Gaza is decimated.
Do you want to show pictures first of the massacre that occurred?
Yes. We're balancing both sides, Rabbi. I'm a journalist, let me do my job, please. You can see the pain that the Palestinians are suffering also. Decimation of the country. Nobody supports terror, nobody supports pain. Nobody wants a world that is without peace. Can we also talk about that this morning to be able to balance the conversation? Rabbi, you want to have a stab at it first and afterwards Rania?
Yeah. I'm an American Jew. I'm not from Israel. My family's not from Israel. But I'm here today. And why am I here today? Because this is not about Israel and Palestine or any other things. This is about murdering Jews. People that they look like me and you, looking to extinguish Judaism, Jewish people from this world. They want to see me dead, even though I have nothing to do with this conflict, theoretically. So therefore, I'm here today. These are not peace-loving people. These are people who have been brainwashed to hate from day one. I, as an American citizen, cannot walk into Gaza, nor can I walk into certain areas of what they call the West Bank of Israel, even though I'm an American and I have no Israeli citizenship. I never served in the army, nothing to do with that. Because for the simple fact that I am a Jew. So this is an attempt and a continuous attempt to murder Jewish people all over. Okay, this terrorist group has tried and has unfortunately succeeded around the world to kill Jewish people. Now, it's not only Jewish people. It's American citizens, it's other nationalities. And if we don't bound together to stop them, they're going to come after everyone. Because if they have success, let's go back to remember ISIS. ISIS, we thought it was a internal issue between in Syria and Iraq. What happened? They came here to Nigeria. They bound together with Boko Haram to train them, and they tried doing some horrible things here in Nigeria. So if we try to think that, oh, it's on the other side of the world, let me not mix myself into it. Unfortunately, history taught us that it's going to come to us as well. So the entire world needs to get together and put a stop and end to this brainwashing of people from young age. If you look at the videos of the people coming through the border between Gaza and Israel, you see about, I don't know, they say about 1,000 militants, people who are well trained in the art of murder, of rape. But you know what you also see? You see hundreds of people in flip-flops, in t-shirts, in jeans. That's not military uniform. Those are people, the average regular guy in Gaza said, there's a party. We can slaughter Jews like the Germans did. Let's go have fun. And that is many hundreds of people who just came over the border, unprofessional people, not trained, but they said there's a party happening. Jewish blood is free today. Let's go and join it. So when we want to ask what's going on, we have to remember, look at the broader picture. Don't only look what's being shown on TV.
Is that justified? What happened in Gaza, the decimation of Gaza? I'm sure you saw just now Gaza being thrown to ruins. Rabbi, I'm not on anybody's side. I'm a lover of peace. I'm a lover of the injunction of peace in the Bible, in the Torah, in the Quran. But is this justified also on Gaza? That's all I ask you this morning, Rabbi. I understand your pain. Nobody wants anybody to die. But is this justified on Gaza, Rabbi?
If we look at history, there was always war between nations. Now there's a war with a terrorist group. It's not with the Palestinian people. It's a terrorist group. And the rules with terrorism is different than the rules of war between two nations. For example, Boko Haram, I'm a resident here in Nigeria, so I feel this as some sort of a Nigerian as well. Boko Haram, you cannot come and talk to them. Look at the negotiations. Where have they led to? Nowhere. Nigerian people have tried to reach out to them, to invest in the north, to give them peace, to give them prosperity, give them opportunity. What did it do for Nigeria?
So this is justified on Gaza, Rabbi, right? The mutilation, the destruction of Gaza is justified. Is that what you say this morning, Rabbi?
Sorry, no innocent lives taken during war is justified.
Okay.
The retaliation is. Let me ask you this, okay? Just to give you maybe a clearer picture. Say we're in Lagos, right? Say there's Fashion Week happening in Lagos in VI.
Yep.
I think it's happening next month, right?
Next month, yes.
Yes, as well as Afrif. It's a festival. People are having fun out on the streets. It's a festival. In the middle of the festival, out of a place as close as Lekki to VI, people come on paragliders in the middle of the day and shoot everybody down. They just gun everybody down because they're there, because they live there. What would you do? How would you feel? Rafi, I'm asking you, how would you feel? What would you do?
I'll feel very sad. I'll feel very broken. I'll feel very shattered. But it goes back to my question, Rhonda.
What would you want your government to do to those people?
I want my government to take action, to fish out the people that perpetrated the acts. But the picture here shows innocent people of Gaza, Palestinian. Look at their place, decimated, broken, destroyed.
Rafa, let me give you a
Israel,
biblical answer.
hang on a minute, Rabbi. Pleasure, please. Israel said that until we'll obliterate the place. I'm just asking. I'm not justifying what was done. I feel your pain. It's crushing. But we all know how this started. We all know how all of this started. The back and forth between the two parties all this while. Yes, there's been back and forth. You said it here that you've lived with shelters all this while. We all know that there's been constant attack between two parties.
Yeah, but this is a terrorist attack that is separate.
What I'm saying here, Rhonda, what I'm saying here is, I'm just asking, the hurt against Israel was not justified. Is the hurt against Gaza justified? That's just all my question. I totally condemn the terrorist attack in the strongest terms against Israel. But was the hurt against Gaza justified? That's all I ask.
So
balance.
this is what might be. Look, I'm not a military person. I'm not a politician. I'm not anything. Let me explain. Gaza is one of the most populated areas in the world. Okay.
2.4 million population density.
2.5 million on an area
kilometers long.
Very, very small.
Kilometers long.
Much smaller than Lagos.
Oh, much smaller.
Much smaller. Like maybe as small as Lekki, like I said. Okay? Lekki has about 300,000 people inhabiting Lekki. So this is 2.5 million, just to give you the proportions. If you try to go in there, you don't, and the streets are this narrow, and everywhere is what's the word? When you put bombs everywhere to sorry? Trapped.
Landmines.
Booby trapped. Yes.
Mines,
Everywhere is booby trapped. So you want to send 18-year-old children, because that's the army, to those booby traps, essentially sending them to their death, to try and bring out 100,000 terrorists. Does that make sense to you?
Okay,
Again,
we've done a good job of reviewing the situation.
I wanted to talk a moment about the value of life from the Bible.
No, I'll rephrase the question for you, Rabbi. And the question is to ask you, will you condemn both sides? Because on both sides, we seem to have seen a violation of international law. Israel adopting a scorched earth policy, saying, look, we would cut off food, water, electricity. We'll punish non-combatants. Protected populations will be affected. Hamas saying that, look, we don't want to see Israel at all and attacking Israel, although they say it's retaliation for the desecration of Al-Aqsa Mosque. Will you condemn both sides in the fight?
Not.
Okay, just a moment. And then, Roya, as we begin to wrap up, I would like to ask you, is there an alternative to the past and the present? We've been on this matter since the fall of the Ottoman Empire and the British took over the Middle East in 1946. In 1947, we've been talking about a two-state solution. Camp David, even Mehud Olmert also tried, and Mahmoud Abbas turned him down. Arafat turned down the two-state solution. But is there an alternative for peace? Rabbi, let me come to you.
Yeah, I'm a follower of the Lubavitcher Rebbe, and in I believe it was in the 1980s, the Israeli government was creating vouchers for those who are having children, financial vouchers, so they can help support themselves. There's many Palestinian Israelis who have Israeli citizenship or green cards or whatever they call them. And there was some concern among some people in Israel. Why are we encouraging the birth rate in Israel of the Palestinians to grow? And the leader of the Jewish people, the Lubavitcher Rebbe, he read from the Bible, from the Torah. And the Torah says that God told Noah, you should be fruitful and multiply and fill this earth. And that's not a commandment to Jewish people, that's to all people of the world. That's the commandment, to fill the world with people. So the destruction of people is obviously antithesis to the Bible. At the same time, there must be a strong deterrence that you cannot come and kill people. When innocent people are butchered, people are opening champagne bottles, throwing fireworks, partying. Is that the kind of people we're asking about? People who when they see a Jewish girl being raped and her dead body being thrown around the city of Gaza, people are partying and touching her? Is that what we're asking about? We have a problem here with brainwashing of a certain people in that area. And I'm sorry, there needs to be a deterrence that you do not touch Jews. And if you touch Jews, something's going to happen. Not here, not anywhere around the world. You don't touch a Jew.
Okay, Ryan, is there an alternative? A solution?
I'm not a politician. Far from. I didn't even understand anything about government policies up until, I don't know, I came to Nigeria basically when I started learning more and more about the history of Nigeria. Mr. Afiu here asked valid questions. But yesterday when I was preparing for this interview, that I must say I reluctantly came to give just so that I can convey this story and this reality to the people in Nigeria, because I know they can relate. Because I know you've had your own pains and wars. I had to see the videos that I was trying not to see for the past few days. And one of them was the Palestinians were dragging, the terrorists, sorry, not the Palestinians, the terrorists, they drove their car back into Gaza. They came out, they dragged out a body of a soldier. His head was all like, they dragged him on the ground. He had like a hole here. And they were jumping and laughing and happy, and everybody on the streets were cheering. These are the children. This is the army that you want to send into those booby-trapped streets to fight, to pull out those people, right? Then the next was a 3-year-old boy who was crying for mommy, and children were around him with sticks in their hands, poking him. Hey, look at this Jewish boy. Look at this Jewish boy. He's crying for mommy. How would you feel? What would you do? We're not making up stories. There's videos. There's proof. They filmed those videos proudly. These people.
Well, tough moment for the world. We'd like to thank you very much, Royal Man, for joining us, and also Rabbi Sternbach for being part of the program today.